Class is in session, your most unconventional class. She talks all things, all subjects. It's the Interdisciplinary Podcast. Hosted by your favorite doctor, this is What's the Say with Dr. Kymrae.
Welcome back to the show. I hope everyone is having a phenomenal hump day or week. It's season 2, guys, episode 2. We've already had one season. We took a break and we're happy to be back. And so we're moving in full swing now. We're in episode 2. And today we're going to be talking about an industry that is very near and dear to my heart. It was my first adult career. I mean, as you guys know, I was a kid actor and kid model and things. But this was my first real career. It's the hotel and tourism industry. And apparently, this is an industry that is also near and dear to your heart as well in your home. Let me tell you a set of data that I have for you, some numbers. 1.6 trillion towards economic output goes to supporting the U.S. travel and tourism industry. $1.6 trillion economic output. Wow. And that also equates to 7.8 million U.S. jobs. Can you believe this one industry puts that much impact on our families and our lives? That's how important and valuable this industry is that we're going to be talking about today to you. But first, if you have not already done so, what are you waiting for? That's my interpretation of, what's that movie I saw back in I think it's I Know What You Did Last Summer. What are you waiting for? It's time. So click that subscribe button and hit your notification bell for your weekly reminders of whatever we have going on this week. But it's episode 2, guys, and we are talking about the state of the U.S. hotel industry. And now I would like to welcome my very special guest, Shawn Grenley. How you doing? For old time's sake, let's pound that screen right quick. Pound it.
Pound it.
So
you're taking me back.
I'm taking you way back. Me and Shawn used to do that every time we would see each other in the hallways or on the yard of the University of Central Florida. Go Knights, right?
That's right. Go Knights.
Who
would have thought, when we were going to college at UCF, we were doing the pound it, but now that's universal now, right? That we're doing the fist bumps.
Universal.
Because now that we're living in the COVID world, people are used to shaking hands. Now
that's crazy, right? We were ahead of the curve. That because we were cool like that. We were just cool like that.
We're still cool.
I know. You could not tell us anything, and you still can't, I guess. But, I had to do the pound it because that's how we used to roll at UCF. The Rosen College of Hospitality Management is where we attended undergrad together.
Right.
And, Shawn, you continued your career throughout the years. Although I've transitioned mine, I still teach I have a professorship in that program at different colleges. So I still am in the game. I know what's going on a little bit, but I wanted to bring you on to share with us what's really happening in our industry right now. I know, Shawn, you continue to work in the hotel industry. You worked at the Gaylord Hotels and Hilton Worldwide and Marriott International, but you're also certified in hotel industry analytics. And you're certified in advanced hospitality and tourism analytics, right? You're making boss moves in the industry. Let me tell you, because now Shawn has moved from working at these specific hotel properties. Now Shawn is working as a senior account manager at the STR. STR stands for Smith Travel Research Incorporated. So tell us, Shawn, what is... I kind of know what Smith Travel Research does, but I want my subscribers to hear it from you. What is this? How impactful is this organization to their experiences? What does STR do?
So we were formerly known as Smith Travel Research. So we did, it's STR, and now we're owned by CoStar Group.
Okay.
It's a publicly traded company. They acquired STR last fall.
Yes.
STR is focused on hospitality analytics. Let's just say I owned a hotel, you owned a hotel, and 3 of our friends owned a hotel, and we're all competing for the same customer.
Yes.
But we really didn't have insights on how everybody's performing. Yeah, maybe we can go meet at the local watering spot and say, yeah, I'm doing good. but we really didn't have the true analytics behind it. So Randy Smith, the founder of STR, came up with the State Travel Accommodations Report, the STAR report. Essentially what it is, it's a report that shows how your hotel is doing against the aggregate of those competitors that you select. So in the U.S. alone, we have 75% of all the U.S. hotels, every major brand submitting their data directly to STR. So we have phenomenal data.
Wow. 75% of U.S. hotels have submitted data to your organization, STR.
Absolutely. So we have relationships with all the majors.
Legit.
Hilton, Marriott, Hyatt, and then of course, independent properties as well without the brand affiliation. They're submitting their data to us. And from there, we can actually take the individual data in and be able to present back out on how the industry is doing. So we could talk about how the U.S. is doing, how the respective markets like Orlando and Miami, how are they performing. So there's a lot of cool things that you can do when you slice and dice the data.
Okay, let's talk about this current state that we're in the United States and the globe, the world, the planet. So generally speaking, hotels need between 40 to 50% occupancy to break even, right? Day to day. We're talking about these hotels that are now experiencing what the industry has dubbed COVID hotbeds. So, we used to say, Shawn, when we were in our program at UCF, I'll never forget it because it was one of those things that the concepts or the phrases that we learned. And one of the phrases that we learned was that we have to keep heads in beds. We have to put heads in beds to make money, right? And so that would mean more than 40 to 50% occupancy for us to make money. I just find that term that is now dubbed COVID hotbeds because we've got these locations where, things are a little bit more tense with COVID-19. And we'll get into that. But I really want to know what is going on. What's really good on our land of hotels with COVID in the air? Leisure and extended stay. What's happening in the hotel industry, the performance, that part of it?
Just to kind of give some framework or some context, for several years, the hotel industry has been performing at record peak levels, so all-time high occupancies. So hotels were very, very profitable. Things were doing good. Take us all the way through March of 2020, we're performing very well. And then, you get word of the coronavirus, COVID-19, and then it gets classified as a pandemic. That's when we really started to see the shift. And then when the United States started to put down their lockdown measures, right? Stay-at-home orders, really closed down the country. It varies by state and respective areas. That's when we really saw the deepest impact of what the coronavirus did to the U.S. hotel industry. It's really the week of April 11th, 2020 was the trough. And since that point, it's been a slow road to recovery. So it's been, as the lockdown efforts started to loosen, then you got into the summer months where people started taking their family vacations, although being very different on how they take those vacations. Leading us to where we are now. Just, we're continuing to recover. I'm sure we'll touch on, what's STR's outlook for the industry and forecast, but, we do have a long way to go. There is a lot of hotel closures that came about due to, COVID.
Man, I can imagine. And I can imagine that it's still going to happen because the thing about hotels is you still have overhead. You still have property taxes. It's not a matter of just, okay, we're going to put this on pause. There's still a lot to be paid. And sometimes there's mortgage, on the property. So it's a unique situation for sure. And it's a tragic situation for the industry, for some, that especially those that aren't the big names that maybe might be able to survive. But you know what? The leisure and extended stay segments, those are, interestingly enough, surviving. Tell us a little bit about that. How is that possible and why? Because I know, like I said earlier, the business traveler is is pretty much shot. It's down the drain a little bit right now until we can go back to work. Right now we're working remotely. You're working remotely too. So, tell us a little bit about why those two particular segments are surviving.
Sure. This is unlike any other downturn that we've had, right? So the root cause of this downturn is public safety, right? The coronavirus causing public safety concerns. Now with this recovery, you talked about who's not doing so well, but group business, right? So generally group business would be in your higher end hotels.
Yes. Your luxury
and upper upscale type property. So when you see a full service Marriott, you think that's a type of property that would have meeting space to be able to accommodate.
Yeah.
Yes. That's the hardest hit segment because now we have the concern about public safety and large gatherings. But in terms of transient or leisure travelers were the first to bring us out of our last downturns, right? So they were the first that come back and travel. Once we had that lockdown in the United States, people really wanted to get out. Mm-hmm. So people were taking their vacations, but they were taking them in different locations. What you're traditionally familiar with. Exactly. Yeah. So we found a trend.
That's what I've been doing every weekend. Oh, excuse me, every month. Not every weekend. Every month. Once a month, I've been a staycation.
I like the whole every weekend idea.
Party!
Yeah. This vacations look a little bit different. So we started seeing that more people are taking trips closer to home. Staying in certain areas they wouldn't normally go and travel to. Yeah. So we see that shift, but they're avoiding the large populated, the major metro markets.
Yes.
As we talked about Miami being a hotbed, maybe they're not taking their beach vacation there, but maybe going to another area where there's less cases of coronavirus. Or we see the shift. A lot of vacations they went out Midwest. So we see an increase, in national parks taking that type of vacation this year, or vacations within driving distance where they don't have to fly to those locations. So as we feel more comfortable to meet and gather, maybe it's a vaccine or some sort of solution where we feel confident that we're not exposed to the impact of the coronavirus. Then we can have the full return of the group business. But right now it's been essentially non-existent on the group side. Just restrictions on X amount of people gathering and people feeling comfortable with that.
Yeah. These weddings and things have all been postponed till 2021 or until to be determined. That was the space that I was in. I was an event planner in hotels and catering. And that was a heavy revenue driver. Of course, sleeping rooms are always a heavy revenue driver for a hotel, right? You want heads and beds. But those events, especially weddings and those big gathering conferences, they were a big draw to your food and beverage revenue and what kept you thriving. So it's been tough. But so what are some of the trends that you would say, Shawn, you see reshaping the industry? What are you seeing from the STR research? Well, I hate to say STR research because the R stands for research. From the STR data, what are you seeing there as far as the trends?
Sure. It's a total shift, because we were generally, the way the occupancy falls, in absolute occupancy levels, which is how full your hotel is, on the higher end, luxury, upper upscale, and as you go down to economy, so the higher end has a higher occupancy than as you move down. But now when we're in a recession, we're seeing the inverse. The lowest rates of occupancy are in the higher end hotels, and then it's the mid-scale economy, especially some of the lower extended stay type brands.
So I don't want to interrupt you there, but I'm just curious because that it really baffles me, and it might baffle some of you guys out there when you're thinking about where to stay, because we don't want you to not go to a full service hotel, or if that's your hotel of choice, then by all means, Ritz-Carlton it out. But I want to get to the bottom of understanding how these extensive stay hotels, is it that they have this better occupancy rate? Is it that they don't have as many sleeping rooms to cover, that their numbers look better, but they're not in essence you're not comparing apples to apples in that sense. And I know STR does compare apples to apples, but in this case, I'm just trying to understand why. I mean, if I prefer a full service Marriott or a Ritz-Carlton or a Waldorf, then that's where I would want to go regardless of anything. If I'm traveling, I want to stay where I have my points and my loyalty and so forth. So what would you say to that?
Yeah, no, it's a really good question. So really there's a difference between needs and wants, right? So when in terms of people going on vacation, that's a different type of traveler than somebody that would generally stay in extended stay. So extended stay is much more insulated to changes in the economy. Extended stay examples of that, some people actually live out of extended stay property. So their occupancies are going to be higher relative to the upper end.
Sure.
Because people are actually living.
It's always steady.
It's always steady. Yeah. And that's really the darling segment of the industry right now, because I see how consistent extended stay type of properties are.
Okay.
Or let's just say you have a hurricane, you have displaced residents that then move into extended stay type properties that have those amenities, because essentially they're not just staying 1 or 2 nights at a nice hotel. They're staying at a property where they have their, a full kitchen.
Yeah.
Right. So they have the living necessities.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're having construction projects that aren't being impacted by the coronavirus. Those people are staying in those hotels for a longer period of time. So
I see.
The shift is completely different. So when the faucet of, hey, maybe I don't take my trip to that big Ritz-Carlton, and stay by their pool because I don't want to jump on a plane and travel, it's going to be different than, hey, I have to be on this work assignment because I'm an insurance adjuster and I need to stay down in Texas for the next few months. So it's just more insulated to...
I see. That makes sense. And I think I cut you off when we were talking about some of the practices that are being implemented on these properties to make our travelers and people like you and me and our families feel safe to do these leisure traveling, type of experiences. What are some of the things that they're providing to us to make sure that we feel like, okay, it's okay for us to travel and spend our money at these locations? What are some of those things?
Yeah, hotels, it's very critical to make their guests feel safe. And it's been a big adjustment, to the property. So when you enter into most hotels, right? So there's American Hotel Lobby Association. They have the recommendations, different things that hotels can do to make their guests feel safe. So one would be wearing a mask in the public areas. So that is a big change. So hotels are having to enforce wearing a mask.
Yeah.
We see a shift, an increase of, guests that are actually wanting to do the online check-in.
Okay.
They can check into a hotel and limit their interaction with, say the front desk staff.
Yeah.
So there's a shift.
So how do they get the keys, their room keys for something like that? How does the room key work?
Yeah, different brands have different things.
Different practice,
really expedite the process. You're not standing in front of somebody having a full-blown 10-minute conversation.
Got it. And shields, the
partition wall.
They've been putting those in between the front desk agent and
the check-in counter.
And the traveler and the guest. Anything else that they're doing that you know of regarding food and beverage and services? So, like when I've been booking my hotels for my staycations, I've been getting a lot of notifications as far as I can check out late, I can check in early, and of course they say if it's available. But those are amenities that you would never have had, if we were flipping rooms like that. So they're a little bit more lenient on certain things, but they also make a special text note that says, hey, some of the amenities that you normally would have, we're not providing those right now.
Sure. Yeah, there's a shift in housekeeping, right? So as people have this desire now to have less interaction with people, hoteliers can change the verbiage and say, hey, housekeeping available upon request, as compared to having somebody enter in your space every single day to touch up your room. We're seeing a shift in hotels, giving the guests the option of whether or not they want to have that interaction.
Okay.
So there's a shift in, as you talked about, front desk, having plexiglass in between, for the check-in interaction, wearing the mask. going up to the room, whether or not you're wanting service. Or, on the food and beverage side, it's really interesting the shifts there, like buffets. You've probably been into a hotel that offered breakfast. A lot of people are around touching everything.
Yeah.
There's a desire now or a shift to not have that much, cross-contamination. So if there is buffets, hotels are now staffing them. So you have an individual that's then scooping the food as an example, as compared to having all the individuals touch their own. And then as group business recovers, the hotels are having to adapt on that side, right? And to adhere to social distancing recommendations. So to say you're having a meeting and you have a 6-foot table, you used to be able to fit comfortably 3 people at a 6-foot table. But maybe now if you're doing that same layout, you have one person at a 6-foot table. So now you can see that it's less, your space, ratios, that changes everything, to the way you set things up to make sure that people have enough room to adhere to social distancing. So it's a total game changer, and hoteliers are really stepping up and changing their services, what they're offering and how they're offering to make people
they
feel
invested
safe.
a lot in those changes. There was some money invested in these hotels for them to create this. All businesses that have opened up have had to do a lot of investing based on this social distancing stuff, and we're all losing, in a sense. I want to ask you then, based on that, we're talking about all of the changes, and what do we expect? What can we expect the industry to be like? And you know what? Forecasting for a weatherman they have the easiest job, man. They can be so wrong, and then they still keep their job. I've never seen somebody have the most wrong information and they still have a job. So when I say forecasting, we're not giving you fake information. This is the real deal right here. This is data driven. So I want Shawn to share with us. Shawn, my friend of many years from the University of Central Florida, graduate with me, a hospitality program, Rosen College. He is here with us today. He is a senior account manager from STR, that is the Smith Travel Research Incorporated. And I want to ask him, what should we be thinking? What should we be expecting in the future for this industry and for traveling? And those of us that love to travel, we want to know, what can we expect?
That's really great questions. I think what people expect when they travel, I think people can expect a different type of experience now, right? So an experience that can make you feel safe. And I can tell you that hoteliers are up to the challenge of making their guests feel comfortable and stay safe. We're talking about hotels, but also the airline industry, what they're doing about Southwest Airlines saying, hey, we're going to keep the middle seat open until X date. The cleanliness in between the flights. We're increasing the cleanliness in the respective hotels too. So there's, really it's just making people feel comfortable when traveling. And I feel like as an industry that we're adapting to that, and we're, giving out that message that the brands are the large brands and Marriott's and Hilton's, the Hyatt's. We're really stepping up, leading that charge, communicating, hey, this is what we're doing to make you feel safe.
Yeah.
And
do we have any idea, Shawn, though? Do we have any fathomable idea? And in this case, we can be wrong because we're guessing, but we're using the data to guess here. But do we have any idea of when we're thinking that some of the revenue will come back to normalcy?
It's $1 million question. There's a reason why we revise our forecast every quarter, right? Because the data is always changing. So, if you speak to most industry analysts, kind of what we're targeting right now for recovery or full recovery would be the tail end of 2023, maybe 2024, to get back to 2019 levels.
Yes.
RevPAR, that's the industry as a whole, but a lot can happen. I mean, it's to say we're done filming, what's to say with Dr. Kymrae, and they announce a vaccine, right? Could that change the outlook of the industry or how quickly we rebound? It would certainly change some things.
Yeah.
But then it just goes into a whole nother argument of, now that we have a vaccine, how long is it going to take to bring it to production? there's a growing group of people that do not want to be vaccinated.
Right.
Now, how would vaccinated people feel?
Right.
Unvaccinated people. So that's only one part of the equation. But
sure.
At STR, we partner with a company called Rosen Economics. We put all these economic indicators, beyond just how the hotel, supply, demand, revenue is doing. They'll look at GDP, gross domestic product. They'll look at inbound traveling, right? So, visitation from other countries. Look at all these different factors and they'll put into the forecast together. So, really when we're looking in a crystal ball, we're several years out from a full recovery. And, so it's really difficult to say, but, what STR is forecasting or the general guidance that we're saying several years.
Absolutely. That's fair. And I like how you put that. So I want to ask you, Shawn, before I let you go, friend, it's really sad to see you go. I've enjoyed our conversation. Final thoughts to my subscribers about the hotel industry, whether they are hoteliers or whether they are travelers. Do you have any insight for them?
Yeah, final thoughts. I mean, you have a very diverse group of listeners. So I just wanted to speak to the hoteliers, so if, perhaps you were at UCF and you're in the hospitality program, I would just encourage you to stick with the industry. Mm-hmm. I'm a lifer in terms of hospitality and tourism. That's my blood. It's what I like to do. And it can be a very rewarding career, with the changes that the industry is going through now. If you're coming out of college, perhaps it's harder to get a job or get the exact job that you're wanting to in different paths that will lead you there. But, keep an open mind. Those individuals that can take lemons and make lemonade, the individuals that show grit, doing the different things, learning different things, because staffing levels are reduced, at this point. So you're going to be wearing different hats. Yeah. I just think those individuals that can really stand out and have a great career in hospitality. And, I certainly enjoy the path that I'm on. To answer those questions about individuals, I do feel that hotels are safe. The industry is really band together, to operate in what the new norm is. And I can tell you that there's a lot of things that came out of this that I appreciate. The less touch, the more touchless technology, like even in the guest rooms, that you're talking to an Alexa or a Google, to order your menus without having to touch the phone that was installed in the 1950s, in the rooms.
That's right. That's right.
There's a shift there. And so I just want you to know that the industry is changing to meet the needs of the customers. And to say that, you can feel safe traveling.
We just have to take the proper precautions, and do business with an organization that is open to making sure that you and your family are safe. Mm-hmm.
I would encourage anybody to, call the hotel and ask, hey, what measures have you made to feel safe in COVID-19? And then the hotels, they should tell you that, there's been several changes made in the last few months.
Yeah. Excellent. Excellent. I just want to piggyback off of what Shawn Grenley just said to you. This industry is not done. It's one of the largest industries on this planet. And, we have to be mindful that, we've been hit hard, but there's still life after this. And travel, for all of my travelers out here, travel has become a very popular thing for millennials. Everyone's going all over the world traveling. And that was not something that even happened in my time coming up. Now I'm seeing it more as Instagram and things make all of these locations and destinations very attractive. I think it's important that we keep the faith that we will overcome this and we still can travel. We still can travel. That's the bottom line. So I thank you so much, Shawn. I appreciated this so much, friend. I really, really, really appreciate you. And I appreciate your supervisor or your boss for allowing you to come on to the What's to Say with Dr. Kymrae show. And
I'll give him a shout out.
Yeah, shout out.
All right. Shout out to my boss, Chad.
Yay. Thank you, Chad. We appreciate you here. So take care, friend. Peace out.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity.